All right. Let me try to switch without messing everything up. There we go. Hello, everybody. Today I am streaming. Oh. Ooh. What's wrong here? Oh, nothing. Great. Okay. So today I am streaming a project that I've been working on. I will be coding this live, kinda. It's basically a Minecraft server that is written from scratch. So it's kinda messy right now. I've actually attempted this. I've actually attempted this twice. One time it was written in C# and I can actually show you. It was called pair blocks. If we take a look here, it was actually very nicely written. Like I did not remember it being this nice, and I stopped working on it because there was an issue with sort of the map reading and converting stuff, because with this version, which I think was 1.16 or 15, I can take a look here. Server version, it was 1.15.2. The map data was treated differently. It was more complicated to go from file to protocol, but now it's better. So I've been rewriting it in JS. I mean, not really rewriting it, I'm just doing it all over again. But yeah, it's coming along well, and people on Twitter said that they would check it out, so why not? So to sort of take a tour here, this is the documentation of the Minecraft protocol. Actually, this is a documentation of the Minecraft protocol. It's different, obviously, per version, not really backwards compatible, and it is also different between, Java edition, Bedrock edition, all that stuff. So essentially how this works is the client is sort of just like a dumb terminal, I guess you could say it that way. And the server does all the physics and mostly everything. So the server runs the game itself. So if we look at the normal login sequence, there's a handshake. Well, actually, at first, if I actually start this up, first there is a server list ping, which is essentially what says mc.js here and this. So if we take a look in my horrible huge index.js and I close the others, we have not here, sorry, it's over here. So we have our default state is a 0, so it's just a handshake state, and then there's a command. Client is attempting to connect, blah blah blah, and then it specifies the next state. So for this right here, it's a state of 1, which is the server list ping. That's the SLP. And we send version info, players, and description. And then we also have a ping pong. And then we have a login start, or a login state, sorry. This is the other valid thing that the handshake can go into. And then this is username, brand, difficulty, abilities, stuff like that. So you get the player username, essentially join request, and you have to. We don't set compression because I just it's all the packet system is just a huge mess of ifs for now, so I didn't really want to complicate it with that. But that's certainly a possibility. And then we have login success, which is O2. And then we have join game, which is a bunch of game data, dimension codec. Then we have a plugin message with the server's brand. We have difficulty, abilities, and then we get the client settings. This also transitions things to state 3. So we have client brand and also client settings, and that that makes us send a bunch of other stuff, which is like your held item, the recipes that are available to you, tags, which is a huge part of Minecraft. So actually, if you take a look at here, tags, it's basically just a bunch of rules. So if you, for example, if you take a look at mineable pickaxe, it contains every single block that is mineable by a pickaxe. And then there's a bunch of tags which need parsing. So there's entity status, which you're essentially declaring the player as an entity. There's the declare commands. So Minecraft, since a more recent version, actually has sort of like command help inside, so that you can type, /tp, and then it will put up like coordinate help and stuff like that. So you have your declare commands. You can unlock crafting recipes. Then you need to send the player a position and look, which is where the player is looking. Then you can add the player to the tab menu. You can update view position, which is also important. If you take a look here, update view position, it's a chunk update essentially, where player position and look is a coordinate update. And then you have chunk data, word border, spawn position, and then you have another player position and look. And then you have teleport confirm, that comes from the client just to confirm, and then you have another server bound player position and look to confirm your position. And then you have a client status, which is essentially perform respawn request stats. Then you can send inventory, entities, all that stuff. So we should see this happen here. So you see a bunch of logs. Ooh. See a bunch of logs there. Actually, let me not log that because it's really just huge thing. And also let me lower the manual view distance that we are using. And with that, get chunks around. Oh, it's not out here. It's saying get chunk. This, get raw chunk. Okay. So we start this. There we go. So here we have our world essentially. Now this is going to disconnect in 30 seconds because I am currently not sending keep alives to the client, which makes it quite mad, but we can do that pretty easily actually. So here you can see there's no obvious chunk issues. So it seems that everything loads correctly. But now I need to set the keep alive. Let's send keep alives. It's actually here. Server is expected to send the keep alive packet every second, essentially. Yeah. So we can do let's say, so we have our player state. I really have to make this system better. So here we have a keep alive interval. Let's guide that. Set to null by default, actually undefined by default. And then once we log in, so essentially I want to say let's set it up after we send the first bit, so just after join game. And actually, yeah, that's another thing I have to do there. So here we would have receive write assemble packet 0x21, which is the ID here, buffer concat. Then we have a buffer, or actually, we'll have to just create a buffer here. Oop. Why am I doing this, by the way? This is not what I want to do at all. I want to do state dot keep alive interval equals set interval. Here we have our callback, and then it's, let's say, to 1000. Now we have c.write 21, and then here we have buff, which is keep alive buffer. We'll need to allocate 8 bytes for the long, and then we can say buff write begin 64, actually begin 64 BE, and that will be our date.now cast it to a begin. And actually, yeah, that's fine. So we don't need to concat buffers, we just need to send buff. And also, once we are closing this connection, we should do if state.username console log state.username has disconnected, and then if we have a keep alive interval set up, we can do clear interval state.keep alive interval. Yeah. Okay. So we are receiving an ID of 15, which is F. So if we look at, right. So we need server bound keep alive. Yep, that's F. Okay. We're also getting ID of 17 often, which is 11. That's a player position. So the client updates the player position every second. So the next thing that we should do is we should start sending the client chunks when we move. So you can see that there's a couple here. So on the very edge we can load this, but it's not great because the client expects us to have more chunk data here. So if you actually do this, you can see it's waiting for chunk. Actually, why does it say Null Server? Let's see if we can fix that. So it should be Minecraft brand, and we should do write string. Let's see .js. I wonder if that's what was causing. Yep, that is exactly what was causing an error in our logs. So you can see that we have an index out of bounds exception, and that was because of the not fault, yeah, because of the faulty brand packet. Yeah, because strings in the protocol are supposed to be encoded in a way that it's length prefixed by a warrant, which is also protocol specific, and I was not doing that, so that didn't happen. One thing that you can also see is that if you swim in water, it doesn't look like it should. Maybe it doesn't. Am I sending these tags properly? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, right? Let's see if that's not what I want. Let's see if I can pick out something proper, a better spawn location. So 67, yeah, that works. Okay, so that's our default position here. So we are going to change that to 67. Not sure what subchunk that is, but I don't think we use it anyway. Yep. So we have 67, and what I want to change is, let's not do spectator mode, which is 3, but survival mode, which is 0. So server bound. Here we go. Oh, wait, what? Why are we still... That's interesting. Why are we still in spectator? Server bound. Yeah, still in spectator. Oh, no, we're not. We just have flying and invincible set. But if we come now here, we should be submerged in water. Yeah, okay, so our tags work properly. Because if we didn't send the tags, the water would look very weird and gray. That's actually something I learned from writing Parablocks, which is the C# version that I wrote a while ago. Anyway. So, another thing is, I don't know if you know this, but we actually spawn in before receiving any chunk data. So what we need to do is only declare our player location once we have loaded everything, initialize our border, set spawn position, and all that stuff. So we have this, no, not this, sorry. We have somewhere we have our post buff and our road buff. There we go, spanning that. So instead of doing that, let's put it right at the end here. So the client is only allowed to spawn in once we have loaded everything. Perfect. Now we have a couple of bits set here. I think it's in abilities. Yeah. So if we look at player abilities, which is client mount 32. Or around 32, it's actually... Oh, it's hex 32, so yeah. Yeah. There we go, player abilities, and here we go, that's a byte field, so... Let's do 0000. We still don't have an inventory bar for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that reason is. We have chat. We also have some weird packets though. We're getting the same weird packet every time. Also, we can't hit anything. Okay, there must be something weird going on here. I think we are, for some reason, still like semi-stuck in spectator mode. I know, because we can send ID44s asking to hit, but the hit doesn't happen. Okay. So let's get our packet system going better, shall we? So we should start sort of creating classes for our packets and categorizing them and stuff like that. So what I want to do here is, so we can take a uint8 array. So what I essentially want to do is extend a buffer of sorts. Oh no. Okay. So how should this work? Okay, let's just start looking at what kind of packets we send, and then we can create a packet system. Oop. Okay. Okay. So so we can parse packet here. We can do assemble packet, and we can do let's just rework this. So we should have classes for packets. We should do lib packet, and this should be index.js. I fucked that up. Okay, so we have our top lib packet, and then we have client bound and server bound. And these both have index.js's, which are just maps essentially. So what we do here is module.exports and just an empty export here, and then over here we can keep parse packet, but we need to export client bound and server bound. And we will no longer need assemble packet, because what this does is basically inside our packet classes already, or will be inside our packet classes already, I should say. So yeah. Oh, come on, YouTube. Why does this not want to work? Okay. Come on. Okay, there we go. So we need to essentially look for all the assemble packets that we use in index.js. Okay, let's start with our top ones, which are actually, oh, not these top ones. Let's start with well, Handshake has no client-bound packets, so that's fine, but it does have the server-bound Handshake packet. So we have this. Oh, not that. It's scrolled. So we have this. Well, actually, technically two, but this is legacy. So we have our handshaking. We have our handshake packet, which is ID 00. We have a variant of protocol version numbers. We have a server address hostname, and we also have an unsigned short, which is our server port that it uses to connect. And then also we have the variant enum, which is the next state that we want. We also have to validate this because some states are illegal. So, oh come on, why does it keep scrolling? I hate this. So, okay, so let's just create a package.js. This will expose a base class with all sorts of fun stuff that we don't have to rewrite. So we have our constructor, which takes a buffer at first. Buffer or opt. So if a buffer instance of buffer, then we have to parse. Else, if type of buffer or opts equals object. Then we have to serialize essentially. Else unsupported packet constructor type of buffer opts. We also need to create our buff.io library. So what this will do is I have already written a library inside of, I think, chunk? No. It's inside of it's inside of MBT, right? This is an MBT parser, by the way, and writer. So it's called the consume buffer. What this buffer does is it's essentially a buffer reader. So it has an offset, it reads, and then it seeks. And that's basically it. So we are going to rename this to buffer reader. We can specify an offset if we need. And then we have all these functions. And also, in MBT we have, we don't need this anymore. We can replace consume buffer with, come on. Can replace consume buffer with buffer reader. Let's delete this class definition. And we have our buff.io here, which is module that exports buffer. Well, actually, it's multiple things. So it's buffer reader, and then there will be also buffer writer. Require buff.io. And we also have a buffer writer. Actually, this does not support the entirety of our types. So let's just extend this real quick. I am going to pull out the Node.js buffer documentation on the side, and we can extend it. So let's see, buff. Well, let's sort it actually first. We have buff. We have buff read begin 64 BE. Well, we're actually only using BE functions, so I'm not going to bother with little endianness. That's Minecraft Bedrock uses little endianness to an extent, but we don't care about that. Then we have read double BE, then we have read int 32 BE, we also have read in uint 32 BE, then we have float, that's the hierarchy there. Then we have read int 16, read uint 16, then read int 8, read uint 8. That is basically everything here. Then we have our buffer writer. We should do alloc here, because that's mostly what we use. And we will not need an offset here. So this offset is 0. X. Oh, let's not do X actually. V, and V, comma, 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 and V, comma. And also, We can use our beautiful regex skills to do something like this. So we select this and then we can do write. And ooh, let's not do that. V comma. And there we go. Oh, and these two. There we go. So we have created our buffer writer also. Which is great. However, instead of this, we should actually have created something else. So ideally, to build buffers, we use buffer concat and we use, well, we use buffers that we allocate on the spot and just roll with it. And that's how we assemble data. So we should, instead of doing this, we should make static. We will not have a constructor. This is just staticness. Also the need for alloc. What we will do is we will actually yeah, buffer writer, that's fine. Or well, actually, just to pay tribute to Parablocks, you can write it, make it buffer Mangler, which is what it's called in Parablocks. So instead of this, we will do, instead of this, write buffer write whatever. We this offset plus 8. Instead of that, well, actually, let's capture this as well. Instead of that, we should do let x equals buffer alloc number 2, x dot, is it right? Right number 1 v. There we go. We should also include write warrant, which is essentially just return write warrant from Warnum. And then read var int over here, which is read warrant from Warnum. which would be this buffer, this offset, and then this offset equals x.next return x.value. So that's our variant reader writer. We also have our strings, which is read string, write string. Read string. Which works on the same premise as read warrant. So now that should be basically, oh, for long. Come on, more long. And that is mostly it. So we have our buffer mangler here. Now we can create our packet, serialize. Actually, yeah, so serialize opts. If opts buffer or opts.id doesn't type of doesn't equal number, throw new error, you must specify ID in options. Packet ID in options. So this dot ID equals ID. We can actually create a parse here. ID. How do I JS doc this is the question. JS doc. JS doc in class. Member number. Do we need that, or do I just do ID and then member number above it? Come on. Can I do this, or will it just crash on me? Can I find module warm-up? That's curious. Packet. Yep, that works. Okay. I mean, it hasn't been called by anything, so it might not work, but we'll see. Do I not yeah, I do export it. Okay, yeah, it works. We should globalize this right here. So then we don't have to do it individually inside of packets. And yeah. Okay. So now we parse buffer wraps. I mean, this dot parse buffer wraps. Or well, actually not parse. We serialize buffer wraps. And for parse, we use a buffer. We actually use a surprise, surprise. We use buff.io's buffer reader. So essentially we use buffer reader from buffer, or well, yeah, buffer reader from buffer, and we do well, actually we use this buffer equals buffer or opt, and then we do parse br. So we accept the first warrant to be a packet ID. So we might as well do it from here. This.id equals br.read warrant. And from here on out, we do this ourselves. Oh well, not really, but we have our packet base thing. We have our packet interface, let's call it that. So we exported this, yes, okay. So for the server bound, let's start by collecting the packets that we use. So straight up 00. Handshake, packet called Handshake. So that's server bound. Handshake.js class handshake extends packet. When does it do that? I mean, that technically works, but that's horrible. Anyway, and also fuck that. Packet. We shouldn't even export packet on its own, actually. There we go. The whole reason why I don't export packet is because if we do that and we require index.js from Handshake.js or from any packet implementation JS, then we end up with circular requires, which is not good. So yeah, now we have our handshake here. So constructor, well, we don't really need to constructor it. What we need to do is id equals, okay, give me a second here. Yeah, so we should do id equals 000. Then we have serialize. Why isn't this loading this for me? Why can't it see that? Okay, this is confused. There we go. So we have opts here. And our opts will be oh my god. So our opts will be opts dot well, I'm not sure why we are serializing this, but it's fine. So this buffer equals buffer.concat var let's get buffer Mangler in here. Buffer Mangler, come on man, I literally just imported it. Buffer Mangler dot write var int opts dot protocol version. Buffer Mangler dot write string opts dot server address. Buffer Mangler write uint16 opts dot server port, and buffer Mangler dot write var int opts next state, and then we can parse buffer dot, oh god, does this not give us the parents JS doc? Oh, it doesn't understand what buffer reader is. Okay, so I'm at buffer dot, nope, it still doesn't understand it. Buffer reader dot okay. There we go. So this is a bit messy, but it's really what I'll have to do, I think. So that's that. This dot protocol version equals buffer read variant. This dot let's set this to this actually. This dot what else? Not what's the next thing? Server address equals buffer dot read string. This dot server port equals buffer read UN16, and this server next state equals buffer read in variant. Okay, so we have our parsing and our serializing. Oh, why do I keep fucking this up? Why doesn't this have useful IntelliSense? I don't get it. And then the next state is also a number. We should throw on next state. And on parse too. Let's see. Then we have I don't think I will implement legacy server ping right now. Server disk ping right now. Then we have client bound, or well, SLP client bound, which is essentially a response. Let's call that SLP response. I'll just use this as a template. ID of 00, protocol version, well, that's not it actually, we just have response, which is just a string, or well, it can be a string or an object. Serialize is, or well, let's just make it an object. Serialize, that's this dot response equals opt response, and let's do this buffer equals buffer mangler dot. Oh, we never set the ID. Buffer concat buffer mangler dot write var int which is this.id, and buffer Mangler write string, which is this.json serialize stringified this.response. And then we have our buffer parsing, which is just read string. Well, json.parse read string. Okay. We should make this static. Static ID equals -1. I'll set the -1 first because, yeah. Static ID. Static state equals 0. Static state equals -1. How do I do this? Okay. Right var int 1. So I am essentially planning on how to make a all catch packet parser response, and that is why I'm messing with the static options, because I need to find a way to enumerate these meaningfully. Yeah, we already know what's client bound and server bound by where it's located, but we still have to do this. Yeah. Should also probably define what buffer wrapped is. How do I type def again? Type def, type def, type def, type def, type def. Type def. Object response options property object response object. And then we have buffer or SLP response options. And for Handshake, we can Handshake options and copy this type def from here. Handshake options, protocol version number, number, server port, and next state. 1 is SLP, 2 is login. Okay, I think most of the interesting part of this is over now, so I'm going to stop the stream, but thank you for watching and see you maybe later when what essentially is a chore. Yeah, so I'll catch you later and goodbye.